Hello. There's double check. Yep.
Hello.
Hello, Caitlin. Hello, Wendy. Yes. Hello, Danny boy. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you, Wendy, for joining us for the comic book show. Caitlin, I think you came in at the end, but I'm not sure. But you don't like chilies, so I'm not counting it.
That's fair. Them's the rules.
And that's the T. Mm-hmm. There's a meme I don't understand.
Spelling the T.
This is a girl. Mm-hmm. She drinks a tea in a car and she taps on the camera. I couldn't tell you anymore.
Okay.
I don't think I have the qualifications.
Are you trying to bring it up? Don't bring it up. It's fine.
I'm not bringing it up. I'm bringing up something way more important. Okay. Way better for a video. Actually, there's a video, so this is okay.
There you go. You guys get it.
You guys get it. Anything worth showing? Anything worth showing? Dog playing Jenga. I'll show you that one.
Oh, I saw that.
It's real good. Yeah. Very gentle. Mm-hmm. Very important. By the way, I tweeted this out, I tweeted out a video that I saw from America's Got Talent where a young boy does a Iron Man themed dance with a dance crew. Really fucking cool. Yeah. Bananas. And everyone tried to explain it to me. I'm like, I don't want you to explain the magic to me. It's like if I went to Magic Castle and you told me how they saw a lady in half. I never want to know.
Don't do that.
I never want to know they saw him in half. I just want to be amazed by the magic. May I? Last thing is this little boy put a Band-Aid on. It's a big maxi pad. Mm-hmm. It's just a big Band-Aid.
It'll suck it up. It'll suck it up. It'll do the trick.
No blood. Yeah. All right. Enough about.
Ready? No. Enough about maxi pads
as Band-Aids. Ready? Here it goes.
On this episode, we're going to talk about maxi pads. All right. 3, 2.
Hello and welcome. Hope you got your coffee. Hopefully you had your morning walk and you're feeling nice and relaxed, ready to start the week off right with only stupid answers.
Oh yeah.
This is Sam's voice, and joining this voice as always, as voices intertwine as they always do, is DJ Woldridge.
Hello, my name is DJ Woldridge.
He's doing you said monster truck voice?
Mm-hmm.
Or
doing
is that
a different
wrestler
bit.
voice?
I'm doing a different bit.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bonesaw is ready.
What's that from?
That's from Spider-Man. I have that memorized. I've seen the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie so many times.
Yeah. So you've watched stuff multiple times. I thought I was the only one who did that.
No. The shows I don't really watch multiple times.
Yeah.
Just because it's a lot more. But I revisit Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie a lot. Right. I think the competition between movies I've seen most in theaters is between Dark Knight and probably Spider-Man 2, maybe Spider-Man 1.
Mm-hmm. As a kid, I didn't really watch movies multiple times until Mom and Dad dropped me off at the mall because they didn't want to deal with me. And so that's when I watched multiple movies. Yeah. That's when movies were cheaper, right?
If you might have noticed, those two movies I mentioned were when I had disposable income.
There you go.
Yeah.
Not paying for rent.
Yeah. So now it's
cars.
So prior to that and post that, once, one time, and then you catch it when it's streaming. But one of the first DVDs I bought was. Actually, I think it was VHS. I think I owned Sam Raimi's Spider-Man on VHS.
I know the first VHS I owned.
What was the first VHS you owned?
First episode of Pokemon.
Yeah.
I have.
Did it come with a thing? Did it come with? Because I know when I was a kid, I had this failed X-Men pilot that came with, you could buy in the toy section, and it probably came with action figure or something.
My parents found it in the bargain bin at Walmart.
There you go.
It did not come with anything.
Okay.
Except for the other smells from the other VHSs, cassettes. But you know what? We've already started talking about movies a lot.
Yes.
Because on this podcast, we talk about movies, TV shows, comic books, video games. E3's coming up, so make sure you tune into Might Be Awesome YouTube channel because we're going to be doing some coverage over there.
Boom.
Whatever it looks like, you'll get it. Whatever that looks like.
Whatever it looks like, you'll get it.
What an offer.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. And there's actually some fun content coming out next week, so make sure you're subscribed over there. And we have our reviews for Swamp Thing, Doom Patrol, Young Justice, Titans over at youtube.com/onlystupidanswers.
It sounds Swamp Thing.
It's not going to happen. That's not how it works.
Maybe go to Netflix, because it goes there internationally.
It's literally just money. They're not going to make that money back. They can't make that money back. The goal was to get a rebate.
Though.
It is. It's not even about that.
Yeah, I know.
It's that North Carolina effed it right.
Are you telling me you couldn't shoot that show in Georgia? We have issues with Georgia too, don't we?
We do. But it's not about that either.
Nah.
It's about that the money's already in the toilet.
Yeah, so maybe if Netflix is able to cough up a little bit of that money,
That
get
cheddar.
get
That
some of that
cheddar.
sweet Swamp Thing action.
That swampy action.
James Wan.
James Wan. Like, you couldn't sell it with James Wan's name attached
Come
to it.
on.
Like,
Get him to direct an episode.
Get him to pay for it.
Yeah.
Get him
with
to
that
pay for it.
Aquaman money. Hey, remember that Aquaman money you got?
Well, now you got to cough it up. You got to borrow that. You don't get to keep that money.
But yeah, we do those reviews. And the rest of the episodes of Swamp Thing will air.
And we'll talk about them.
Yeah, and we will talk about them because I'm actually really excited about for the rest of the season. I am bummed that not only is it canceled, but they had to cut the season short. So the ending is definitely not going to be satisfying, which is a bummer.
And that's going to be a super big bummer because right now it's been pretty dope. But
yeah.
You can find all that over on our YouTube channels and at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. Don't miss out because we got a fun new series starting for the summer. It's going to be a little short run thing that's going to be really fun with some very fun guests, so we don't want you to miss out. Make sure you're checking it out. So it's $5 a month. The support really keeps us going.
So it's like $1 a week, basically, a little over $1 a week.
$1 a week.
Boom.
Boom. Bing, bang.
Boom.
Boom. And $15, you can join in and watch these live because before we start recording, we goof.
Oh,
we have a few goofs.
Sam likes to bring up them memes.
Yeah, we were talking about maxi pads earlier. You thought I was gonna get right past it. I couldn't.
Escape it.
You couldn't escape it.
I did sense the regret in your voice once you said it. And you're like, oops,
pads,
maybe I should have stopped, but it's too
pads.
late. So we like to start each episode catching up on what we're into this week.
Yes, because this week we saw X-Men Dark Phoenix, which our review is up over at Might Be Awesome,
Boom.
which we're going to be talking about at length in a little bit. But yes, besides that, I watched Good Omens. That's the whole thing.
Do you watch the whole thing? How many episodes?
6.
How long are the episodes?
They're a TV hour. So it's like a 40 minutes.
Yeah, I know, but it's always nice when I pop in the Tick and it's like 20, 30 minutes. You're like, boom,
Oh,
perfect.
you mean that canceled show on Amazon?
That was great.
It was not for me.
It was not for you.
See, there you
but
go.
season 2's even better for me.
Wait, I wish
Anyway.
you said instead of better was more of the. That was even more of the show. I'm like, oh, that's more of the thing
but
I
it's
didn't
so,
like.
one of the best bits, since you're not going to watch it, one of my favorite bits this season of The Tick is they have Superior, who's their Superman stand-in, but on this show, instead of him becoming evil, the trajectory he's on is, what if he was super insecure? So he's doing really messed up things, but not because he's like, I'm going to make just. People, because he wasn't able to stop the terror, the big bad person, people have stopped liking him, and it's really getting under his skin. So what if you had like a Logan Paul figure that had to handle all of that drama, but had Superman's abilities like that? The like, I got to prove to everybody that you should like me. Mm-hmm. It's terrifying.
I mean, it's a fun pitch.
Yeah, and he goes to Arthur because Arthur is the one that stopped the terror, and Arthur's like down to earth. He's basically forcing Arthur to be a psychologist.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun bits in there, but Good Omens. Tell me about it, because I'm on the fence.
You should check it out.
Okay.
The thing I'll say is Neil Gaiman does actually found this out.
Yeah.
He has directed before, and it's something that I think you really like.
Okay.
Episode of Doctor Who.
Yes. He wrote an episode of Doctor Who. It's the one with the TARDIS, where the TARDIS becomes a person.
Yes, but I want to double check something while I speak
to
you about Good Omens, the
so
new
good at multitasking
hit show on Amazon Prime Video.
Yes,
very good to do that.
Did he direct episodes of Good Omens?
He didn't.
Okay.
He's an executive producer and showrunner.
Yes.
So there's that. He did the. Okay, I can't find anymore. He is the guy who wrote and did not direct, but had a big hand in the Vincent Van Gogh episode of Matt Smith's run as Doctor Who, which is an all-time favorite for most people.
Really? Yeah. Not for me.
I don't even want to talk about it.
But he also wrote the episode where the TARDIS comes live, and that is a favorite of mine.
The Vincent Van Gogh, and he cries. He goes to the Louvre and he cries. He goes to Musée d'Orsay and he cries. I know my museum's in Paris. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Good Omens.
Yes.
It follows an angel and a demon. Crowley's the demon, played by David Tennant. He was the snake that tempted Adam and Eve. And Aziraphale is played by Michael Sheen. He's the angel who gave them his flaming sword so that they could have fire out in the big, wide, dangerous world. And they've lived on Earth ever since, waiting for the Antichrist. And David Tennant's the one who's supposed to deliver it to. It's a very fun pitch, is that he has to swap babies with an American diplomat, so he can go back and be raised in the White House. And whoopsie daisy, just general normal life stuff. People don't communicate enough. They give him to satanic nuns, and they accidentally give him to the wrong family. So the Antichrist is raised in just a regular town. He's a regular kid.
Yeah.
And they try to sway the Antichrist because both the angel and the demon don't want the apocalypse to happen because they like Earth.
Yes.
They really like Earth.
Yeah.
It's so funny because John Hamm plays Gabriel.
Yes.
And comes down to talk to Aziraphale about like, okay, so end time's coming. Make sure you're doing whatever. And Aziraphale's eating sushi because he loves it. You can see like he's just like that pleasant Englishman that's like always dramatized in American like TV, and he's having a pleasant day.
Yeah,
he's like a pleasantly plump person. He's not overweight, just got a little bit of a gut.
Yeah,
but he's very happy, and he's having sushi. And John Hamm's like, "Why are you doing that? We don't need to eat." He's like, "Yeah, but I." Then he lies. He's like, "I gotta blend in." And he's like, "Yeah, but my body's a temple, so I'm not gonna do that." And you can clearly tell that Aziraphale likes what he does. Like he likes reading books. He likes experiencing culture, and so does Crowley. And you learn they have an episode where they kind of like show them throughout all like big biblical points and history.
Yeah,
it's so funny. It's so genuinely charming. Like they do. Noah. They do like Noah, and they're outside where like the people are kind of corralled in like a pen because they're like, what are they doing? And you see all the animals walking by, and there's a great joke where it's like, the unicorn's getting away. Don't worry, you got one. Crowley's like, I got that one. It'll be fine. And then because they don't know what's happening. It's actually a great theme they bring, or this like plot point they bring up is that there are two different. There's a plan. There's the ineffable plan. And some people refer to it as the ineffable plan or the great plan. And it's like, that's what God's great plan or the ineffable plan, like something you can't change. It's what we got to do. And they talk about the flood, and Crowley didn't know about it. And he's like, you're flooding the whole earth? And he's like, well, I don't know about China or Australia or the Native Americans. They might be okay. He's like, but all the people here. He's like, yeah, he's kind of like, but he's going to make a rainbow, which is like a promise that he won't do that again. And he's like, okay, you sure? And one of the best there are two really good moments for Crowley. David Tennant does an amazing job where
he's so talented.
He's in a bar and he's drinking. They can get drunk, but they can immediately like shoot it out of their system because they love the idea of they just like that sharing moment you get to have with alcohol. So he's sitting in a bar by himself, and he's like, I didn't want to fight. I was just hanging out with the wrong crowd. It's like I was asking questions one moment, then I'm falling down for eternity into a pit. And he's like, and I just kind of went with it, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, when was I not allowed to ask questions? And then later, or earlier, they show that Crowley tempts Adam and Eve. They leave. Aziraphale actually breaks the rules and gives them the flaming sword. He's not supposed to do that. He's one of the he guards the east gate of heaven, and he did that. And even God's like, where'd it go? And he's like, must have put it somewhere. I'm not really sure. And Crowley brings up a good point where it's like, oh, you broke the rules. It's weird. It's like, I'm the good guy and you're the bad guy. And he's like, you're the bad guy. You're the demon. He's like, yeah, but I did what I was supposed to do. And it's so good because it's like, no, things are more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And learning the main motivation for like why does heaven and hell, why do they want to go to war? It's like to see who wins. That's it. Like, that's all that matters is that who is right.
Yeah.
That's not what matters. And also the design of the demons is really good. All of them have, for some reason, like their hair is like a frog or like a lizard, and it's like tail is wrapped around, but like it's a full moving puppet that's on top of their head that will like stay still most of the time, but all of a sudden be like like their head, like their arms will move around. Super cool. They deal with like witches and witch hunters, and the negative I'll say is the CGI. There's a point where you do see a kraken, which is awesome. It's so cool because Adam, who is the Antichrist, doesn't know that he can kind of do whatever he wants, especially with the end time. So he accidentally brings Atlantis back, and like a cruise ship just gets landed right in the middle of Atlantis, and they come on and they do like a big karaoke contest. It's great. They stop whaling. He accidentally stops all whaling ships because the Kraken comes out of the ocean, and that looks great. And Satan shows up, which I found out was played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and that was really cool.
Nice.
And he's huge, like he's this big hulking whatever. He looks awesome, but then like one of the like a witch can see auras, and it looks like a Snapchat filter.
Cool.
And I'm like, it's weird. They're like, we know we have to get these things right.
Yeah.
So everything else is basically the extra if we can, and that you can tell, and that really bums me out. Overall, I recommend it. It's a very sweet story about a friendship between two guys. A lot of people were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cute if they dated?" I'd be like, "I see it." Michael Sheen and David, they would be great together. A little too similar, like when you had like criticized like the Legends of Tomorrow, like Ava and Sarah, similar.
Yeah,
but they're so. It's so sweet. It's such a sweet show, and it's so funny. John Hamm does an amazing Gabriel, and also the like kind of comedic take of Heaven and Hell. Also, Heaven and Hell look really cool.
Cool.
So if you like that, like it is, and Adam's point of view, the Antichrist of what he has to be. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's because he just wants to be a kid.
Yeah.
Also, he gets a hellhound because the Antichrist has to have a hellhound that he rides with into battle when Heaven and Hell go to battle. But he gets to choose what it looks like. And since Adam doesn't have a rule for what the hellhound looks like, he's like, "But I want a dog." It's like, like a nice dog, like a small, nice dog that can sit on my lap and we can kind of like go ride my bike together. Yeah. And so it's like this big, like 11-foot tall hellhound's hiding in the woods, and like it's got these big teeth, and it's like, it looks amazing. And he's like waiting to be told what his name is, because then he can look like how the Antichrist wants him to look. So he calls him just Dog, and he turns into like a little terrier.
Yeah, that's great.
And eventually, like, you can kind of see that the evil gets bred out of the hellhound, and he just becomes a normal dog. Yeah. Who can like grant wishes a little bit, but
there you go. I wish grand dog.
It's amazing.
I would like to say, you mentioned earlier that Neil Gaiman wrote the Van Gogh episode of Doctor Who, and I'm only bringing this up. Wendy in the chat. Wendy S. says the Van Gogh episode, she asked whether it was written by Richard Curtis, and then she also points out that Richard Curtis also wrote one of your favorite movies about time.
It's a good one. He also wrote Mr. Bean, the animated series.
He did.
Which I didn't know there was an animated series.
So there you go. And also, so
Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Yeah.
And Yesterday, which I'm very excited to see.
So there you go. Just because specifically I want to bring it up because of About Time, and I know you're all about Time.
Oh yeah, it's About Time. You should watch About Time.
So what I watched this week is I finished Chernobyl.
Oh, so did I.
Which is probably not a lot like About Time.
Took your time.
Listen, man. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
I need to watch The Tick. Chernobyl's real.
Chernobyl is
it's dramatization, but there's enough of it that is real.
Yeah. So you've been talking about Chernobyl a lot.
Yeah, about it.
And so I've caught up, and if anybody out there hasn't watched it, it's the scariest thing you're going to watch all year because it is real, and it's scary because you can't see radiation, and you also can't always see political incompetence and the red tape that makes people do stupid things.
It's a lot of people. It is. A highly political show, and I think the portrayal from Jared Harris and Stellan Skarsgård and basically the entire cast is beyond A+. Like I can't praise this show enough. I'm gonna rewatch it soon when I've recovered emotionally.
Yeah.
Apparently I saw this article that tourism spiked in Chernobyl because of this show, and it's like, ooh. Did you watch the show?
Did you check it out? Well, and because they went, and tourism has always kind of been a part of Chernobyl, which is weird. On one hand, I get it because you want to see, but also why?
I do kind of want to see it, but also after this,
why?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because they talk about that little film strip you get put on there, and it as you're exposed, it kind of changes color or whatever.
Well, speaking of podcasts that you're listening to right now, the Chernobyl podcast, it follows episode by episode with Craig Mazin, who runs the Screenwriters Podcast and Script Notes, and another guy from NPR. Wait, don't tell me.
That podcast, the Screenwriting Podcast.
Yeah, Script Notes. Yeah. Check it out. Eric Voss from New Rockstars recommended it. That's why he checked out the podcast, and then he watched the show. So
cool.
Good.
So check that out as well. And I also appreciate the also if you watch any HBO show, there's almost always like an inside the episode or whatever. I highly recommend checking those things out because they're very interesting, especially this one. And I like the effort to say, hey, we made a show. But because in a lot of ways it's about truth and transparency. Like, let's talk about the stuff that we weren't able to include. But of course, there's a New Yorker article circulating that's like, actually, all of it's bullshit. No, it's not like that. But it is. The person was very. It's basically like, you didn't depict this accurately, so basically you're the liar. It's very antagonistic to the show. And I don't agree with its take, but that's out there too, if you want to check that out.
Yeah, no, the idea, our artistic licenses. How would you say that? Creative liberties is another way to say it, where they do truncate some storylines, or they truncate characters into one person. Which I get because you're just trying to. The story is about the people who sacrificed their lives and their lives and their livelihood to try to not make this a basically world-ending event,
global disaster.
But also at the same time, you need to be able to tell a story, and you are trying to get a point across of how this event, in a way, one, brought down the Soviet Union, changed the way we looked at atomic energy and atomic weapons overall. So like when you guys, like when we hear like, we're not political on this podcast, but when you hear like reinvigoration of making atomic weapons on our soil, and then you watch something like this, and this is,
you're like, why? Don't.
This plant wasn't supposed to explode because that's not how they work. They don't blow up. But it did.
Yes.
It blew up. It's so bad. It's because remember I talked to you earlier this week and you'd watched the first 2 episodes, and in the second episode it escalates, and somehow it gets worse than just the explosion.
Not only is this town and this entire area F, but if we don't do this sequence of things, basically the whole continent's going to be unlivable.
Continent.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Like what? So I think it's not only is it well dramatized and well acted and well written, but I also think it's important for the time that we live in. And going back to that New York article, I think some of the issues, it is about dramatizing some stuff, because you also have to depict an entire culture and perceiving. You have to let American audiences know what people are thinking in the back of their mind when they're communicating to people within that government. With us not necessarily being a part of that and not knowing this, you make some what might have been implicit threats explicit, so that us Westerners know, like, this is how people felt about superiors and why everybody was so scared. So whatever, anyway, whatever. I think it's well dramatized, and I appreciate the effort they went through, because especially like there's such a different spectrum. But comparing to something like Bohemian Rhapsody, where it's like most of that movie you can just throw in the trash. It's not really, doesn't really apply to the truth of
what happened for
Freddie Mercury or Queen or any of that stuff. So I appreciate and I'm a big fan of storytelling that pays attention to the details and the minutia and all that stuff. And so not only the effort to represent that in the show, but to do the podcast, to be like, hey, here's, even in the show, when they do hey, here's where everybody ended up, like they explain some specific things about that. And it's also good because it just shows that it's easy to paint another country as the other. But there's a lot of very heroic people, the miners. There's one of my favorite. The divers, one of my favorite, which I'm not going to spoil what happened to the divers, but I was shocked when they did the thing. I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
For me, another standout was this one random general. He gets told that, like, hey, somebody's going to have to go up there with a better dosimeter, and no matter how well we shield them, they're probably not going to be okay. And he's
something
like,
measures radiation.
And instead of like sending one of his people, he's like, oh, I'll go. I'll be the one. It's like, wow, that's really cool. So I highly recommend it. There's a lot of standout moments in each episode. My favorite ones are probably the first 2, because I think those are the most immediate, like,
First 2 episodes?
The first 2 episodes, like, oh, damn, we got to deal with this. And then the last episode I really liked.
I think the least favorite, but even though all of them are stellar, is the 4th episode.
Yeah.
3rd one introduces the miners, and their head guy is so good at seeing through bullshit. It's such a good way to also navigate bureaucracy. You get a moment where he's like, okay, all you guys are going to be issued these face masks. And he's like, well, these are pointless because none of you are wearing them. And you're literally standing right next to an open reactor, so why would we use this? And the idea, like, you can't use fans, and you get why you can't use fans. So also, podcast points out the gratuitous HBO nudity. You always need it. You always need it in your miniseries. But the reason for this
is a good.
It's a weird comedic / dark moment for the show. It's as funny as the show can get.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, just I knew this going into it, but also seeing the utilization of lunar rovers to deal with this problem, keeping it as vague as possible. Also, the term biorobots. Never heard that before, and I get why. It is bureaucratic bullshit.
It really doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't.
It just makes you feel better a little bit.
When I heard that, I was like, oh, no, it's awful.
No.
So
tell me.
please, it sounds okay.
Tell me more. Sure.
Please check out that show. There is actually a Discord thread where I've been talking with people about it. Gary, and I've been talking about it. And so, but with that, let's hop into X-Men Dark Phoenix. Before we do that, can I say hi to my friends over at Wix? My friends, not your friends.
Pause on that. I'm going to put a thing. We're well past when we should have dropped that ad. So we're going to have to drop it earlier. For those at home, this is Patreon stuff. 23, 13. So we'll fit in. I'll find a way, I think, before I start talking about what I'm into, we'll drop it there.
Cool.
But let's, before we dive in, you want to read these 2 reviews? All right, so let's go back. So we're going to dive into Dark Phoenix and X-Men. And what I'm most excited to talk about is the future of X-Men. But if you guys are listening to this on iTunes, you can go and give us a little 5-star review, which we love to read on the show. Those 5 stars help. They help get this podcast into more ear holes, right? Moist little ears?
Yeah.
Whatever. You get it. So we're going to read a couple of your 5-star reviews. I'll start. I'll throw myself on this particular grenade. Mads W82, 5 stars. My favorite podcast.
That's the one.
I freaking love DJ and Sam. I've been watching them since they were on SourceFed, and when I found out they were doing a podcast together, I was unbelievably happy. If you love movies, TV shows, comics, etc., then this is the podcast to listen to. DJ and Sam always have great commentary about whichever topic they're talking about, and both give different and great perspectives. If you're not listening to this podcast, then you're missing out.
Oh, we got one right here from Munch Matt. Munch Matt.
Alliteration.
5 stars. Moist little ears. Check. Best dang podcast. You betcha. I had a lot of the ch at the end of that. Been a long time listener, and these boys got me to finally get around to download and make an account on iTunes just to give them 5 old stars. This podcast is truly great. I love hearing these two take a deep dive into all the nerdy things I love. It is also the reason I started picking up comic books, and guess what? I can't put them down. These boys are awesome. Definitely give your moist little ears a listen. Thank you, Munchmat, and thank you so much to Matt's at W82. Sorry, my sticky fingers couldn't move the little scrolly thingy.
Also, some behind the scenes stuff. My scrolling thing is different than pretty much everybody else's, and I don't know why. I think it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
That does feel dubious. Anyway, so there's always a little confusion whenever somebody gets to the mouse pad on.
I smeared some of the Chipotle sauce I had on my fingers into it. You're welcome.
Here you go.
There you go.
Here it is. So we're talking about, we did a review for Dark Phoenix, and we were not as negative as other people.
No, the comments on our video were very much saying that we were being too nice to the movie, but that's not how movie reviews work. So you usually get a full picture. That's how you get an aggregated score on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know why people don't understand how reviews work. It's okay if you disagree. It's good. That creates conversation. It's like when I talk about Time and DJ, he has his negative
About
thoughts
Time.
about it.
It's like when you talk about Time.
About
the
Time.
movie About Time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You didn't watch that movie, Sam?
No. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. On my docket right now for movies, I want to now, because I wasn't depressed enough with Chernobyl. I want to watch that new Netflix Central Park 5 show.
Yo, good.
Yeah. Because it's like, hey, wait, I haven't had enough. I haven't been punished enough. But
if you come in bummed out next week, I know why.
Yeah. So I want to start checking that out, and also I want to. Cold War is on Amazon Prime. That was a movie that came out last year. Was nominated for some Oscars. I've heard good things, and I didn't get a chance to check it out because I'm a Luddite.
What is that?
Dumb.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't seen About Time.
There it is. That's About Time. So, do you want to, let's dive right into these questions, if you're down, if you will, please.
Well, before, actually, really quick, I wanted to just overall thoughts. You said you liked it. But
more than others.
More than others. I think it's, where would it rate around other X-Men movies?
Well, actually, I think I'm glad you brought that up because Danny Boy here says, overall, how do you grade the Fox run of X-Men films? Me personally, I give it a C-, more misses than hits. I hope there isn't a huge delay in incorporating the X-Men into the Marvel films. X versus A, I'm assuming X-Men versus Avengers would be a cool to build up to. So where does it rate as far as other X movies? So we've got the first 3 X-Men movies, right? We had X-Men Origins Wolverine, 2 back-to-back that were not too great.
No. So, but in like trilogies, we had the first 3.
Yeah.
Logan's.
And the Wolverine movies are Origins, The Wolverine, and Logan. The 2 Deadpools, and then the
3 of these
prequel trilogy, which was First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse, and now we have Dark Phoenix.
So 12.
Yeah.
The low end for me is definitely your Last Stands, your Origins, your Apocalypses.
Yeah.
And I think the Dark Phoenix is just slightly sitting on top of those. Just like slightly.
Yeah.
I think it's like barely laying on top of it.
Yeah.
It's below the waterline. They've all drowned, but it's
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. The bottom ones, it's hard to say. I'm going to say probably my least favorite would have to be X-Men Origins. I can't think of a single redeeming thing about that particular movie.
I liked I know one part
Yeah.
is the flashbacks we got of all of them running through time, and it's about 5 seconds of the movie.
Like all the wars that he fought in and everything?
Yeah,
Okay,
that was okay.
Yeah. I liked Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth.
Yeah, that too.
I didn't like how he was used in the movie, but I did like that actor
That
for
idea.
that particular role.
If you saw on IMDb Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth, you're like,
Yeah. Way on board. Cool. So for me, I think for me, above Dark Phoenix would be the first X-Men movie, because I don't think that movie particularly holds up all that great. Then the first Deadpool, right? Then, so now we're getting to the good stuff, better stuff. So top ones, what are my favorites? Top ones would be, I actually really like the Wolverine, other than the third act where he fights the robot. The rest of the movie I actually really enjoy. That might be above Deadpool. Then, what do I have left? X2, Days of Future Past, First Class. So probably First Class.
And Deadpool 2. And Logan.
Yeah, probably First Class. Oh, I totally just blanked out there. Probably First Class. Then X2, then Deadpool 2, then Logan, then Days of Future Past.
There you go. I'll be honest, I could not follow that at all, because you started from the bottom, got into the middle, and then went the other way.
It is a weird way to do the list, to go from like, hey, let's go from shittiest to the best. But I think my favorite has to be Days of Future Past, because that's just, especially at the time, that was insane. That was an insane way to do a reboot. It was a cool way to do a crossover. It was just really cool. Below that is probably Logan. Then Deadpool 2, because I really like Deadpool 2. And then the rest.
I think tops are Logan, First Class, Days of Future Past. First Class was a blast, man.
First Class is the best. I think I ding a little bit just because I don't care anything about those particular X-Men.
Yeah, no, but it was the introduction of James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, and you're like, oh wait, you're still willing to actually make good movies, and that was a fun reminder that like they can still make good X-Men movies. Yeah. Actually, I like that more than the original trilogy. That's fair. X-Men 1, 2, and 3 are all below that. I do like X2 a lot. Though. It's good, but it's just I don't know what, it's something about it. Like, I think the best part of that is Nightcrawler doing the takedown in the White House.
Yeah, that's so like
cool.
The first scene. So
yeah, the rest of it I couldn't really tell you what happened besides Stryker and Lady Deathstrike and stuff.
Yeah, I like that. But also you got Wolverine protecting the school, which is really cool. You've got the classic and I think this was a big problem with X franchises is it got really stuck in its particular beats. It's like you got Professor X versus Magneto, and then you got we work with Magneto, but then Magneto betrays us. And then you got one version of those two stories. Yeah. Then you pick one, and those are the two stories you get. But like Nightcrawler was cool. You utilized Storm a little bit more. We had to work with Magneto, which was cool. Anytime you got Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart in a room together, awesome. Electricity, great. Similar to McAvoy and Fassbender. So
yeah, Logan, that's special for reasons. We actually reviewed that on here.
Yeah,
we've been doing it long enough.
Came out when and it was one of the times we're like, hey, let's make this a real movie.
Yeah, that was super cool. That was a blast. Days of Future Past just blew my mind because it don't get too bogged down with time travel stuff. Like, cause it's like, what can she do? She phases, and she can phase your brain.
Oh yeah,
right to the past.
The mechanics of it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and like they would do things where they would like, someone's about to shoot me, so I'm gonna quickly lay down and go back in time to before this guy tries to shoot me, and then it doesn't exist, and you're like, that's really convoluted. Fun idea. super hard to follow. Anyways, Wolverine going back in time, blast and a half.
Yeah.
And that was a fun way to utilize Wolverine in the First Class cast. That was a really fun way to use it, because it's just the Wolverine everyone knows, just playing around with the characters you like.
I saw a headline that was like they thought about casting a young Wolverine in Days of Future Past. Like, how does that make any sense? Especially since we saw him in First Class.
Doesn't work.
It's one of my favorite scenes in First Class.
So funny. It's the guy that's the best use of an F word, and Dark Phoenix has the absolute lamest use of the F word ever.
I think we need to take that privilege away. I think the privilege needs to be PG-13. You're allowed one fuck as long as it's good.
Dude, it's so
because Godzilla also has a really bad one.
Which is when they cover it up. Yeah,
and it's like
they barely say it though. They get like a and then
I thought he straight up.
No, they get by it. They get like it's one of those where they cut it off like in any action movie. It's like a movie trailer.
But when you think about something like First Class, it's like that's how you do it.
And since we're talking about the end, and I can see why Dark Phoenix might not be everyone's cup of tea to go see it, I'll explain. Some X-Men decided to be on villain side for reasons, so good guys versus the good guys, but being bad this time. So they go fight in the city. And anyways, they're having the showdown before the fight starts. Cyclops is looking at Magneto and his team, and he's like, "You better not fucking touch her." And
no, I think it's like if you touch her, I will fucking kill you.
All right, pee pants, calm down. Oh, don't worry, I'm a 22-year-old. I look like I'm 14. Oh wait, except for Magneto and Professor X are in their 60s.
Something like that. It definitely. Here's something. A lot of people, a lot of hot takes, a lot of think pieces on like, the one more MCU is better than X-Men is because X-Men and the continuity and all. Fuck all that. I don't give a shit about that. I don't give a shit that Magneto and the rest are supposed to be in their 60s and they're still played by like early 40s at most, James McAvoy or whatever. It's all about the movies. And I think that's something I appreciate about X-Men that we're going to lose now that MCU is the overriding, like, this is how you do a big budget franchise, which great, they've made it work. But to make that work, you need a Kevin Feige. If you don't have a good showrunner, you don't have a good multi whatever. The X-Men movies were like normal movies. They lived and died based on the movie and the story. So that's why you could have a really great Days of Future Past and then Apocalypse. You know what I mean? And then, you know what I mean? Like you could go, because each movie stood on its own, because all that stuff, the continuity is like, none of that really matters as long as I don't care that fucking Emma Frost showed up in X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'm very fine with Days of Future Past just writing right over that. Like, we changed it, so it's not happening anymore. Like, totally fine.
January Jones is a really good get for Emma Frost.
Yes. And that was, people were butthurt then with First Class. It's like, who cares? First Class is a good movie. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter that the continuity doesn't line up. First Class is a good movie. That's what matters.
Coolest team building heist type scene is when they go to the different mutants that they're kind of vaguely aware of mutants.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they had thrown one in there that was clearly like a sideshow act. That wasn't a mutant. But you get the good Wolverine scene from that. Man, that movie has a lot of rewatchability. Yeah. Also, Kevin Bacon, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in the movie going into it. Mainly because it was in the weird X-Men phase where I'm like, I don't care about this movie. I'll go see it because the director Matthew Vaughn did Kick-Ass, and I was like, okay, I like that, so I'll go check this movie out.
Also, if you like those movies, check out Layer Cake. That was also how Daniel Craig got the Bond movie, because he's in Layer Cake.
Nice.
So,
Is that Matthew Vaughn?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
that was in his like Guy Ritchie face.
Mm-hmm. It's so weird. This movie, Dark Phoenix, we mentioned this in the review, but it's so weird. The more I think about it, the more I feel like it's just, and then there was more. It's so like, it's like if someone added another epilogue to a book later.
Yeah, especially since, and I've mentioned this before, like, Logan was probably their best out for the franchise, because that was the goodbye to arguably the two people you cared about most, which was Patrick Stewart as Professor X and Hugh Jackman as Logan. This is like, it's a goodbye to these people, but it's like, we just met these people in movie. Like, I know Cyclops and Jean Grey, but like, let's be honest, Cyclops is by far, either Cyclops or Storm is the most underwritten character in any of these X-Men movies. Mm-hmm. He gets one cool moment in this one. It's where they, I guess, use his eye lasers as the ship blaster on the Blackbird, cool. Which was cool and makes sense. I mean, you've already got Beam, dude. Why would you bother building lasers?
Kinda. I don't know how it got outside the ship.
Yeah, there's logistical questions.
Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of people are like, it's a force push. It's not lasers, and I'm like,
what does that even mean?
I kind of hope.
Also, by the way,
you trip more.
I did like. I did like where he was able to see the reflection in the car and like bounces, because I think that's the first time we've actually seen him bounce his lasers.
See, there's a question.
Yeah.
That's a question.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make sense if it makes sense if it's a laser.
Yeah.
If it's light.
It's all made up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to calm down about getting bent out of shape about made up things.
Oh, but they added logic to it. They're asking us to think about it.
They want us to think about it.
Because then we talk about the movie more, and then when the new movie comes out, they're like, maybe they'll answer the question. You understand.
But you're 100% right. It's like an epilogue to the epilogue, and it just doesn't feel like we... What was the one? Because it was Apocalypse, then it was Logan, right? Mm-hmm. And then Deadpool 2. Yeah, you were done.
Yeah, Deadpool 2.
Logan was your bye-bye.
Deadpool 2 was a cool way to keep going, because it had like the cast show up, and if you did like new mutants and stuff.
You know what? Worth to have this movie just for that bit in Deadpool 2, because that was literally a day on Dark Phoenix. They just had the cast together, like, oh, you're in Deadpool 2
I think
now.
they don't even. In an interview, they're like, I don't think we got paid for that. I think we were just walked. It's the same set, so they were just. They walked on set, they did their thing, and then they went back to their own movie.
By the way, did you see there's been a bit online? I guess Jon Favreau has a new cooking show on Netflix.
Chef Show.
Yeah, did you see the bit with Gwyneth Paltrow?
So funny.
Yeah. He's like,
also,
you were in Spider-Man?
I believed her. I was like, when was she in Spider-Man?
Hold on. She was in Spider-Man? That's hilarious.
Also, probably when she got the script, it wasn't like, or anything,
Yeah.
it wasn't Spider-Man written on it.
Yeah.
Because it's also,
was
she has no
Deep
interaction
Blue.
with any Spider-Man characters whatsoever. It looks like a sequel to the end of the first Iron Man movie.
100%.
Hilarious.
So we got another question here by L. Jeffo. Love it. Will the X-Men be canonized as another dimension with the MCU? A lot of these are based on now Fox was annexed by Disney, so probably for no small reason to get these characters. So this is the end as we know it for this version of the franchise. I'm fine with that. But then they go on this question: favorite X-Men power, favorite X-Men character, favorite X-Men costume.
Let's do the first one. Another dimension with the MCU. Let's not do that. Supergirl does that, and it doesn't make things easier.
Yeah, and also, you already did, because the reason you do that is to say, like, maybe they can cross over with ours. You did it. Days of Future Past, you did it. You're not going to do a better version of that, which, by the way, this is the second time they've tried to adapt the classic Dark Phoenix story. Not great either time, but they did a good job with Days of Future Past. That's another classic, and it's like, that's probably the best version of that you could do in a movie. So, favorite X-Men power?
I mean, the answer is you can kind of do whatever you want, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just out of the X-Men that are the most popular. Nightcrawler's up there because you get to go to another dimension, which is cool. And then you get to teleport wherever you want to.
It smells like sulfur, so I don't know if
So it smells like farts?
Yeah. It's
Smells
a
like
fart.
farts.
It's a fart dimension.
It's a dimension just for my farts.
I'm gonna guess what X-Men power you'd want.
Here's a benefit of that really quick.
Yes.
If you needed to fart, you'd teleport and you could let it out. And
I just teleported. Yeah, but you teleported for no reason.
And you clearly, we heard you fart on the way out. We heard you. Like when I tried to fart in the dimension. Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, you didn't though.
You sure didn't though. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. This is click. This is me on the limb. You'd want Quicksilver's powers.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he's not a mutant anymore, technically, according to comics. So, nice try.
Well, it's gonna be. It's definitely gonna be a mutant again.
Yeah, give him time.
I think for me, weirdly, the ones that I've always thought Gamut's powers were cool.
You
Like,
charge stuff up.
Yeah, that seems cool. It's not very useful in like day-to-day stuff, but
No,
it's cool if you lived in an action movie. It's cool.
Yeah, you might have to actually go to prison because you make bombs
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
touch them.
But especially in these later movies, Magneto's powers are so cool.
Do you remember?
I would just get in my car and then just lift my car up and fly to work.
Do you think you'd buy a car?
That's true. He can just fly.
Yeah.
And the mechanics of his ability to fly are a little bit nebulous
They
to me.
kind of opened it up in Apocalypse that he can just tap into like the magnetic field of the Earth, and I was like, "That's cool."
That is cool.
Besides, did you see that tweet? Did I show you that tweet where it's like, "Uh-oh, I can't wait for the next X-Men movie. I wonder which character will wear a bathing suit to Auschwitz this time."
I did see that. Also, there was a scene in Dark Phoenix where Storm's like, "Oh, we can't trust Jean. She killed one of our friends." Like, time out, Storm. You were part of a genocide last movie.
I think you melted a whole city into a pyramid.
Yeah,
I think people definitely died in that.
Yeah. So, and you weren't brainwashed. You chose to be a part of that. So, maybe dial it back on your hatred for Phoenix. So, okay, powers. So, favorite X-Men character.
Well, what were your powers? Gambit
Magneto.
still? Magneto. Cost character.
Let's say to limit it down. Let's say favorite X-Men character in this group of movies. These 12 movies. Lee.
James McAvoy, his Professor X has been great. The Dark Phoenix, whatever fucking thing they try to do with his character, like, wait, is he the bad guy? I don't know, man. Yeah. I fucking know. I don't know. All our heroes are secretly evil on the inside. So, is that what you're trying to say?
We're all secretly evil on the inside.
We all are. Even you, Danny M. Sorry. Calling out a very specific patron. No, you're nice. You're the best person out there. I think James McAvoy out of the characters in the movies. From the comics.
By the way, they're talking in the comics about New Mutants. Yeah, we know New Mutants is coming out next year. Yeah. It doesn't. Who cares?
Disney doesn't care. They just need to get this movie out.
Yeah, I'm shocked it's even going to theaters.
Yeah. Just give up, man. No. There's no way it can be fixed. That being said, though, the third act of this movie was my favorite part, and that was in reshoots.
There you go.
But they want to do the whole movie again.
My favorite part was actually the opening scene. I thought James McAvoy talking to young Gene and the way he like explains like gifts and stuff like that. It's like, oh, actually, this is legit. I like this.
Sweet.
Yeah,
and space was cool. There were cool moments of this movie.
The space rescue was also cool.
Yeah. I
mean, best use of powers I think in a long time.
Mm-hmm. For X-Men movies. Besides like Quicksilver and anything.
Yeah.
This movie.
Yeah. Even then, it's not as robust. But the few moments he gets, it's like, yeah, of course you have to nerf him right off the bat because he's too cool.
I like you said robust because like he gets 15 minutes of each movie just for his stuff.
Yeah.
And in this, it was like, no, we're not doing that. It's Jean Grey's movie. Like, you crazy? It's like, well, sorry, I don't want to watch the movie then. Quicksilver, I'd say he's my favorite character just because he's in the movies. You know, in the comics, he's always a dick and he's cheating on people and he's a bad parent and stuff. It's like,
I think Quicksilver has the best character rehabilitation in these movies because that is not a character I give two shits about. And in the movies, it helps. Evan Peters is great, and he's just naturally likable.
Because you can make him annoying. That's okay because when you watch how he observes time, it's like I'd be annoying too. It's like, can everyone just hurry the fuck up, please?
Yeah.
You guys are taking your dang time talking. What about you?
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I know it's cheap. I was trying to think of a better one, but it's like, come on. When I was a kid, everything was Wolverine. Like that 90s X-Men cartoon, Wolverine was my jam. And it's like Hugh Jackman. I feel cheap in saying it, but it's like, to be fair, the first 3 X-Men movies are Wolverine movies.
Which Wolverine do you like the most out of which movie? Which interpretation?
Honestly, I mean, it's hard to say not say Logan, except that movie's it's such a bummer. I really like the Wolverine when he's taking down the ninjas. The train fight's really cool. I think it's the closest we get to like who he's in the comics. X2's really good too. Man, I'm enough of a nerd that when he showed up on Apocalypse in his full Weapon X thing, I was like, that's cool.
Oh, they're like, that movie, it's like, there's a big threat at the mansion. And everyone's like, and then Stryker shows up and you're like, he's got to get these guys and we got to go somewhere else for a little bit of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Apocalypse doesn't make a lot of sense. That whole movie doesn't make a lot of sense.
That seems lame as shit.
Yeah. But he looks so cool because it's what he looks like in the comics. It looks so cool.
You're part of the problem.
I am part of the problem. But it's a bummer, too, because it's like Cyclops can be really cool in the comics. Havoc's always been a favorite of mine. Gambit's always been a favorite of mine.
Oh, yeah, he's in Apocalypse.
Yeah, and they don't care. They pick the couple characters they care about. You know what I mean? And that's it. The rest are just there.
Fun fact, in Logan,
do
you remember the scene where the X-24, I think that's just what they call him, the clone of Logan, walks down the stairs?
Yeah.
That's a fully CG character.
Oh, nice.
That his face is not there. That is somebody else that walks down the stairs, and then they put a de-aged Logan or Hugh Jackman on Logan.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman on them, and then basically throughout the rest of the movie, that's what he looked like. That is a fake thing that they made.
That's crazy.
And it looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks really good. Real quick, just favorite X-Men costume. I mean, Deadpool has to have the best, right?
It's a really good one.
Like they nailed it.
I actually really like Marvel Girl. Whenever like Jean Grey gets like a superhero character name, I actually like the when.
Are you talking about the comics or the movies?
In the comics.
Yeah.
Comics. Yeah, I guess in the comics it's not fair because they can do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah. I guess in the movies, everyone was wearing leather numbers.
I do like the brief uniforms we get in Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't. I get why people like the Frank
Yeah.
Quietly whatever design, and I'm like, this looks like something their mom made. I'm not a big fan, but yep, that's it. I didn't have any other moments there.
So
you know what? Magneto's helmet never doesn't look cool. It always looks cool.
even on the first two.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah,
I mean the new ones.
Yeah. In the Michael Fassbender's version of helmet always looks pretty cool.
And in this one, when she like shreds it, like that was super cool. So,
I did think she was crushing his head. I was kind of a little bummed that they didn't like
go full.
Just do it, man.
Yeah,
just do it.
Why not? It doesn't matter anymore.
This is the end. Exactly. Just do it.
He definitely doesn't deserve to live.
No,
Sorry,
no,
I know he had a tragic past.
Tragic.
But again, like Storm, he used the magnetic field of the Earth to just melt cities.
Yeah. It was bad.
He tried to use the Sentinels. He reprogrammed them by using the metal to move it around. That's the part of Days of Future Past doesn't make a lot of sense.
You're along for the ride.
He threaded metal into them, and that stopped their programming.
Anyway, so we're gonna.
That's the Sentinels, by the way.
Jake Hefner, what do you guys think the MCU should do when they eventually bring the X-Men into the fold to make it a success? And what do you think they should avoid at all costs? And that also feeds into Efren. Let's imagine you were Kevin Feige's shoes. You have the X-Men universe at your fingertips. You're planning on expand the roster for the first movie. What X-Men characters would you choose to be in the movie? And who would you not want to see adapted? So to kind of like boil this down, how does the X-Men transition into the MCU successfully? And then kind of like what characters do you think they should focus on?
I'm pulling up names right now to get the characters ready to go.
There are a ton of X-Men.
But I have very specific ones
I
want to put in there.
Dupe.
Only Dupe.
Only Dupe.
They're like this. So my MacGuffin plot device you can use forever and ever, amen, is the 3 snaps that happened on Earth specifically.
Okay.
Because that's a giant. You rewrote the universe 3 times.
Yeah.
And you broke time too. There's a lot of like wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Like you can kind of explain that as a result of that, you don't have to say that the people who snap back become mutants.
Yeah.
All you got to say is that amount of cosmic radiation basically nuked all the sperm on the planet. I hope Kevin Feige's writing this down. You listening? Bub?
Listen up, Kevin Feige.
Bub. And you, the human evolution is now just kind of evolving in tandem that like we have to evolve. Or in the Ultimate Comics, they kind of introduced that maybe the American government started making mutants. That's a way to do it that has like a lot of, because also when it kind of ties into the racism of it, like you're like, this is super layered, and I think the MCU can't handle topics like that in a way that is tactful. The movies keep trying to do, the X-Men movies keep trying to do like the racism angle, and they never like, the early ones kind of did a better job of this. They never quite got it. You know
what I think would help with that? I 100% if I'm Kevin Feige, I'd call Jordan Peele. And I'd be like, hey, do you want to do an X-Men movie? Because both Get Out and Us are so kind of like navigate those tricky waters in very deft ways. And clearly it's mostly horror he's done so far, but he's a fan of genre stuff. And it's like, I think that'd be a good person to at least write the script. You know what I mean? Because he's clearly got so if you want to tackle that angle again, which is a big part of the X-Men, so it's understandable. It's like you call up somebody that gets it. You know what I mean? Especially in today, because that's something Grant Morrison tried to do, is like, hey, let's take that metaphor and out of the 60s and into the 21st century. And then Marvel was like, nah.
But we want to make more comics.
Yeah, but
I don't understand.
I think Jordan Peele would be good at that. And I'm sure there's other people too. He's just the one that pops in my brain.
But story-wise, I think you got a lot of, like, especially with like going to Spider-Man Homecoming, you got like
Far From Home.
Yep.
I literally made the same exact mistake in the other show we were shooting today.
It's kind of tough to remember, I'll be honest. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of they gifted themselves a lot of possible storylines you can do to introduce characters like this.
Yeah.
In terms of characters, these are easy. I just want to make sure I got them right based on who had played them before, and maybe they can play them again. Zeitgeist, Bedlam, Shatterstar, Vanisher. Ooh, who's this one?
From Deadpool 2?
Yeah.
Wasn't Zeitgeist the one that spits poison?
Yeah, he spits up vomit. He vomits up acid. Yeah.
I love that.
Imagine that's the guy, because like you show him as the first mutant, like a kid's in class and goes, and like the skin's melting off, or he doesn't melt, but he accidentally vomits like in a toilet, and the toilet melts, and then he vomits on like a kid's foot, and it starts to melt. Oh no, what's happening? Spider-Man, call Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and everybody gotta go figure out it's mutants. And guess what? We've been here a long time. Unshield. there's the X Mansion. You got
Yeah.
the X whatever. Everyone's got their crazy costumes. Big floaty goop guy with skeleton parts floating around inside. What a Beak's here.
Everybody's
God.
favorite Beak.
Beak here. Yeah, it's a Grant Morrison one, right?
Yeah, it is a Grant Morrison one. He went a long way to be like, hey, listen, all the mutant powers can't be cool. Like
They
some of
can't
them just
be.
have to be like, and that's I feel like Beak is the worst. It's like, hey, you got somebody like Angel, beautiful human being that has beautiful angel wings. You get the uncool parts about the bird. You get the beak and the basic
feathers.
body, but you can't fly.
You can't fly.
It's just you're just a bird.
Did Beak end up being like a villain?
I don't
kinda?
think so. I think he did end up figuring out how to fly though.
Good. Thank
Yeah,
God.
thank God for him.
If you're gonna live that way, you got to be nice to him. Dupe being the main ambassador.
Yeah,
This is
boom.
Dupe.
That's
What is
bring it
Dupe?
Good question, because he is technically a mutant, but I feel like he's also extra dimensional.
Here, really quick, if I may.
Yeah. So while you're looking that up, are you looking up Dupe? Is that
Oh,
what's
yeah, I
happening?
gotta just
All right,
know.
while you're looking up Dupe, here's my thought. So you can incorporate the snap. I do like the idea that mutants have been around, and perhaps with the current events, it's time they either get outed, like maybe they start doing because of the snap, they start like having to do like tests on people because like, hey, did the snap affect us? And people discover mutants, so the mutants are like, oh, we've been outed. So now it's time to. So Professor X is like, cool. Well, the Avengers are hugely popular. So, because this is the opportunity you get in a shared universe that you don't get in the X-Men universe. Because originally they wore superhero costumes so that people would accept them more. Mm-hmm. You can do that now
Yeah.
because the Avengers saved the freaking universe.
And also, you can make there's a great plot point where it's like, oh, from the other mutant's point of view of like, oh, you picked the pretty ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
a real.
that'd be great.
Out of like, especially when it comes to like cultural identity, there's something there.
You
really
could have like
tell.
a Nightcrawler or somebody like that is not originally picked and then
Yeah.
eventually gets to be incorporated.
Like, it's a really good point with Jordan Peele when it kind of comes to like a story about code switching. Like, you could do
Yeah.
like culturally, like when it comes
which guys
to
like you and I, it's like
that doesn't mean anything.
we're not
Yeah.
able to
I mean, it means
navigate
something,
that.
but yeah, it's
we're not
not-
able to navigate that. But somebody that knows, knows somebody that knows and somebody who's naturally talented as he is. But I would also say that I think the X franchise is so big, and Disney's is an opportunity here that I think you do three things. These are. Did we determine Dupe?
I do, but I'm gonna get to after. Is Dupe part of your plan?
No.
Oh, okay, do your thing. Yeah.
So three things.
Uh-huh.
I think you make an X-Men movie, obviously, because it's whatever. It's one of the biggest franchises in the world. You do a standalone Wolverine movie, and maybe he doesn't show up in the first X-Men movie. It's not until he gets his own movie then he joins the X-Men.
Post-credit tease.
The third thing is you have an X-Men Disney Plus TV show that gives you the opportunity to flesh out. Because what's the most successful of these superhero movies? What's the most successful? Because you brought this up in our Dark Phoenix review. Everybody's like, everybody needs a standalone movie. No, they don't. But you look at Guardians. Guardians had 5 teammates, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. So you can probably do an X movie with 5 main characters. That leaves you with a good 20 other ones that'll probably show up that you flesh out in the show. You either call it Generation X or X Factor or whatever.
I mean, for Disney Plus, do a kids show at the
school.
Yeah.
Did you ever check out the X-Men Evolution cartoon?
Enough of
It was
it.
actually pretty cool.
Yeah, the idea that the when you pitch it, you're like, yeah, that's cool. That makes
so
sense.
maybe you have a Cyclops that is like the leader of these students. And so that's an opportunity to flesh out his character. And he's basically a supporting character in the X movie, but you get or Storm or somebody that is able to get fleshed out and because those are 2 very cool, very prominent characters that really got sidelined in the movies. And if you allowed them in, if you say, hey, Wolverine doesn't get to be a part of the team at first, he gets a standalone movie, and then he gets to be a part of the team later. So he doesn't, because he will 100% take the spotlight. That's just Wolverine's one of their 2 biggest characters ever. Him and Spider-Man are like the 2. That's a little more diverse now because thankfully for the Avengers, but when I was a kid, it was Spider-Man and Wolverine. They were the ones, So he doesn't show up at first, and then for people that not your 5 main people, it's a good opportunity. If you have a Disney Plus series, it's a good time to flesh out. If you want to do the Brotherhood of Mutants, if you want to set up villains like Arcade, if you want to the X-Men franchise is its own. It's so big it rivals the rest of the Marvel universe. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think you do a 3-pronged movie. I would just say just do a show, but they're not going to not make that movie money. That's crazy. So movie, TV show, Wolverine standalone movie.
You could do
and then Deadpool.
You could do. I think you can also, if you spread out the like the movie a little bit, if you did like your X-Men movie,
Yeah.
and you kind of, it's like an origin, so you can get an explanation of where everybody came from. They've done this before,
but in this universe,
what it means for each other, especially one of the coolest issues of like New Avengers is when it's from the point of view of a Skrull that took over Hank Pym.
Yeah.
And he's watching all the events of when New Avengers started for Brian Michael Bendis, and it got to Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
So he's seeing like House of M, and he got changed, but he still looks like Hank Pym, but none of his memories changed. So he doesn't know what the fuck happened, and he can't explain it. Then everything turns back, and he's like, okay, everything was. I have no idea what the fuck happened. The idea of seeing a point of view character like a Jean Grey or like a Cyclops or something.
Yeah.
Honestly, they've done those characters for so long. Just take a break. I don't know who you focus on first, but maybe different X-Men leading team. Nightcrawler being there is really cool.
Yeah.
Angel would be fun to have in there.
Yeah. And if you want to do the bigger stories, if you want to do Apocalypse and like the idea of Angel becoming Archangel or Dark Phoenix, there's like, you've got to start seeding that stuff now.
Yeah.
They're so big. Or in the show, like, because I think you look at the first X-Men movies, it's always, most of the X-Men movies are good mutants versus bad mutants. So that's at least like 10 to 15 characters that, and you're right, they have done Jean Grey and Cyclops a lot, but they never really like fleshed them out. You know what I mean? So maybe you put them on the show, or maybe because those are the most recognizable ones, they get to be in the movie and the show gets to focus on the Nightcrawlers and so, although then you've got the makeup issue with Nightcrawler. I think there's a way to do it to surface all those characters. Do you have characters that you'd like, yes, I want to see them on the big screen?
I think you need to do an X-Force movie. I think you have a really cool, I think Domino got a lot of praise.
Yeah.
So did Deadpool, so did Josh Brolin, and also he likes doing Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I don't see him saying he wants a break anytime soon, maybe from doing Thanos specifically.
Yeah.
I think he liked the character, but that's a big rig to put on. So anyways, with Cable, like you can have him. It didn't seem like there is a fair amount of CGI there, but for him it's not too bad.
Yeah.
And having just building out that team, you want to do every part of Fox wants to do an X-Force movie. Do it on the big screen. Show them that like, oh, while we're moving forward in the MCU, we can still have younger skewed movies, which they're probably going to have, but also we can have these like darker movies as well.
Do you think they're going to try and PG-13 Deadpool?
No, they're going to do R, and it'll be under its own banner or whatever. It'll be something. It's because, like they do adult movies. They hold on to their F-bombs a little bit more than another studio or other studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give them some time. They can do it. Venom, we're not going to see anytime soon, but we'll get.
Apparently Sony's begging them to put Venom in Spider-Man 3.
Says it'd be kind of cool.
It would be cool.
Another Spider-Man 3 with a Venom.
Yeah,
that's good. That's a good formula.
Yeah,
I heard Deadpool being part of Spider-Man 3.
That I think would be. I'm into. Not it makes it sound like I don't want Venom in Spider-Man. I just think it'd be weird for that Venom to be with this. You'd have to, I don't know, it'd be weird. And Deadpool already like stealthily like put a helicarrier in the first Deadpool movie, so it's like you can just say, yeah, he was there.
Mm-hmm.
He was there. And also it's fourth wall breaking, and you can get away with it. But I would like to see X-Force. I would like to see that. I think most of the X-Men movies touched on the characters I cared about. I like Phantom X a lot, but I also wouldn't be surprised if I never see him in a movie.
He's complicated.
He's not only complicated, but he's also just not anybody's top pick. I think I would like to see them connect the dots between with the Weapon Plus program. Have Wolverine be a part of, like, Captain America was Weapon 1, Wolverine's technically Weapon 10. So Cap is connected to Wolverine, and it's also connected to Hulk because Hulk tried. I think there's some really cool connective tissue there that you finally get the opportunity to do in the MCU that I think is cool.
Because like Red Skull, Captain America, Hulk are all currently like attached to one another, right?
Yeah, and technically, if you want to go with Ultimate Universe, Spider-Man is too, because the what mutated the spider was they were trying to make a new super soldier formula,
and be a fun thing to revisit right now, especially with Cap not being around.
Yeah, and one of my favorite plot points that they drop in the first Captain America movie that they never picked up is the idea that what that formula does is it brings out the person you are on the inside, which they've never connected to the Hulk, but that's so interesting to me. That says so much about Bruce Banner, and I find that so fascinating, and I would love them to like, and especially if you connect that to Spider-Man, even though he got it indirectly, and Wolverine's not super soldier, they put adamantium bones. There was no formula to that, but it's like I think there's some real cool connective tissue there. But yeah, X-Force would be cool. I'm trying to think. I like Psylocke a lot. I'd like to see them actually do something cool with that character. I think Olivia Munn was good casting, but unfortunately she was in Apocalypse.
What can you do?
Gambit would be cool.
Channing Tatum.
Damn it, I'm always thinking about just all the X-Men that showed up in that 90s cartoon. I think you could do cool stuff with Warpath.
Yeah, probably.
No.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That version of him showed up in... Johnny Thunderthighs showed up in Gifted.
That's his older brother. That's Thunderbird. That's different.
What'd I say?
Yeah.
His name's John.
Yeah, Johnny Thunderthighs.
Johnny Thunderthighs. He claps them together and boom, knocks you down.
There is definitely a mutant with that ability.
Yeah, there's got to be. There's millions of mutants.
By the way,
they all gonna look like birds.
I just want to throw this out there. In DJ's Perfect World, the Wolverine.
I thought you said pervert.
DJ's Pervert World. Hey, welcome to DJ's Pervert World.
This is an awful theme park.
In DJ's Perfect World, Wolverine standalone movie, he's hired by Shield. Hulk's gone off the grid since the snap. He has to go find Hulk, and so it's you finally get your Wolverine Hulk because you can finally do it. Wolverine for Hulk, live action, big screen. Middle act takes place on Madripoor with Joe Fixit and Wolverine as Patch.
Ooh, wow.
I know. Yeah, I know. This is my perfect world. Okay, this is my pervert world. This is my pervert world. I also think it would be interesting if you establish that Wolverine heals very fast, but like if he loses an eye, it'll grow back, which is impossible for humans, but it takes like a week. So he can heal more than natural, but you could still really fuck him up. So it's not like he can just walk into like a Gatling gun and be fine. It's like he has to be a little bit strategic about how his healing factor gets incorporated into combat.
Last little thing here, Wendy S. saying, in the Shuri comic, which I'm reading too, glad you're reading it, Storm has been helping out in Wakanda, and I know she's had a relationship with Black Panther in the past. I know there's criticism of that. I get the criticism.
Yeah.
But the idea of having a character who's from Africa that's not Wakanda being a part of the MCU is really cool. And Storm is a great character, and showing her as like a leader would be very... she's a leader of the X-Men at some point in the comics.
Yes.
Show it again.
I should think she's my favorite leader of the X-Men. I think I like Storm a lot. Yeah,
and Kitty Pryde would be a good one to use too.
How cool would that be if before you even get to the X-Men movie, you start seeding them, like Storm shows up as just a supporting character in Black Panther 2. Like you just start seeing these X characters just pop up in different somebody shows up in... Sunfire shows up. He's Japanese, but he shows up in Shang-Chi. You know what I mean? Like you just start like... seeding them out, like getting people like, hey, this is a part of our world now, and then you've already established all of them before they show up in the big X-Men movie.
Now here's to kind of close it out.
Yes.
Let's put a big prayer out there for Dupe showing up in the MCU.
Yes, please and thank you.
If you guys aren't familiar, he looks like a green bean with warts on top and arms and 2 eyes. He floats around, and his powers include... He's a very new character from 2001. Flight, accelerated healing factor, superhuman strength and durability, physical malleability, ability to replicate physical objects, extra-dimensional void within body that can store objects and people. Now, Dupe was said to be a product of the Cold War-era U.S. military experiment, becoming instrumental in the fall of the Soviet Union. That is as far as I can get to because the top part of his article says that he is a green floating spheroid creature of unknown origins who speaks in a language all his own.
Dupe.
He does.
He speaks in Dupe.
Can anyone understand him? Because he teaches classes at the school.
I think it's one of those jokes that everybody can kind of understand him.
Like a group?
Yeah.
If you're around him enough, you can
you kind of pick up on it.
Context.
Yes.
It's always I love when people say context because it's like that's nonsense.
Yeah, and it's man. If you wanted to do, there's no reason that they tackle Dark Phoenix again. But if you want to do the MCU, you could incorporate the Guardians, which would be so cool.
And like Nova and other cosmic level beings and whatnot. You have the Shi'ar.
Yes.
What they're called?
Yes, and they are not in Dark Phoenix. Spoilers for that movie.
No, but hey, they are wrapping up Legion this year, so it feels like all the X titles are wrapping up quick.
Yep.
They had their day in the sun for a second with TV shows.
I think on the Disney Plus app they'll have them again, and Jeff Loeb over the TV side is like, what Hulu series can I make from the X-Men? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And we got our Dazzler and Tigra show coming out.
Yeah.
Chelsea Handler's doing that. Howard the Duck, MODOK, and
Hitmonkey.
Thank you.
Yep.
Something monkey something.
Yeah.
But hey, gang, let us know what kind of X-Men you want to see in the MCU. Where is Dupe going to show up in our year-long plan or our decade-long plan when he popping up? I think we're getting Fant Four Stick before we get a X-Men. But hey, I wouldn't mind getting them at the same time. You know, I think it'd be pretty cool. But gang, let us know what you think. Make sure you rate and review on iTunes. That's the only way that we could do this as a job. And also Patreon. We love when you support there. Check out all the new content we're making over at Might Be Awesome and Only Stupid Answers, and follow us at Might Be Social and at Only Stupid Answers on Twitter. You got the vowels from stupid. At Sam Basher, at DJ Talks Trash. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye. Love you, Wendy, Danny M, Danny Boyd, Caitlin Conway, Infamous Competition. You are late, but it's okay because you can watch this later. Bloodstorm and Jubilee Vampire versus Blade. Danny M, you're the only one that knows Bloodstorm. Yeah, you are it. It's one comic, right? Did Bloodstorm show up more than one time in a comic, dating Cyclops for 1 second, then dies? And everyone's like, no, Bloodstorm. Wait. Bloodstorm is Vampire Storm? Yeah, young Vampire Storm. Okay. Unless there was an older version of him, let us know. Let us know. Jubilee Vampire. Oh, actually, you didn't read. That plot point. You didn't read West Coast Avengers. No. There's who's pink hair, pink guns. Oh yeah. That guy. He wears a T-shirt that says "I devamped." Quentin Quire. Yeah, he's like, I devamped. The Jubilee and I got was a stupid T-shirt. Nice. Yeah, he was instrumental in whatever happened. It would be cool to have him in an X movie. No, Sam's not a fan. What? Why? Now we can use Gwenpool whenever we want. Yeah, just an X-Men Blue. What happened to X-Boy, Wolverine's kid from the Ultimate Universe that made it over? Did he die? So I'm actually going to wait really quick. Danny M, I really want to know because I don't want to Google it. Sam doesn't want to Google it. I'm trying to think of other X-Men characters that they haven't done yet that I'd want to see. What if they just do the kid of Wolverine and they never show Wolverine? Never show Wolverine. Never get to Wolverine. Still think Tom Hardy's would be a great Wolverine. I know he's Venom now, but Tom Hardy is brought to you by Hardee's. Tom's Hardee's playing Wolverine. Yeah, he could eat a lot of it because he's healthy. Who else wants to see Tom's Hardee's? Tom's Hardee's. This episode of brought to you by Tom's Hardee's. Danny M's not coming through on this one. Jimmy? Is he dead though? Yeah. That's the question. We didn't need his No, but thank you for his name. Yeah. We didn't need his name. Jimmy dead? Is Jimmy dead? Was he hitting the Jimmy? Is Jimmy dead? Is he hitting the Jimmy? Is Jimmy dead? Who's Jimmy? I know who Jimmy Neutron is. Boy Genius. Mm-hmm. He's Wolverine's son. Yeah. He caused an apocalypse. Better than Chili's. Caitlin, what are you still doing here? What's happening? Have you tried Chili's this week? He left after the Venomized saga because he went crazy with symbiote lust. Ooh, baby, that sounds like shit. Bam, bam, you know what? I like what you did there. Thank you. You hit a note. You hit a key. I did hit a note. Yeah. That one. I'm into it. That one sounded like that sounds like a garbage story. I read the Venomized Venom. What is that called? Venomverse. Yeah. And that was garbage. The things that turn Venoms into bad Venoms and whatever happens after that. No, it's dumb. It was dumb. No. That was a dumb story, Danny M. I can't believe you read all of it. I can't believe it. It was a Venom and X-Men Blue crossover. What were we doing? That was a year ago, 2 years ago. You guys reading Doomsday Clock? Let's talk about that. I'll wait. All right, we'll see you. I'm fine. I guess I'll have to go over the Discord. I'll talk to you guys then. Bye.